Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Legacy Speaks. I just wanted to touch base with you guys really quickly just to discuss the topic of crisis safety plans. As you may know, in my current role, I operate in the form of crisis stabilization, a lot of brief therapy and on-site counseling. That way I can help stabilize that individual in the moment until they're able to go to their next inpatient facility or to their next appointment to their therapist or psychiatrist. And in the meantime, in between time, while I'm giving them referrals, I also do what we call a crisis safety plan. We use this a lot within the inpatient space as well as the partial hospitalization intensive outpatient spaces as well. I know there are a lot of private practice clinicians who sometimes use it too. So I just wanted to share this with you. That way you can have it in your own framework or on your day-to-day basis as well. But before we jump right in, I need you to hit that subscription button below. That way we can stay up to date on newly released content on a regular basis. So let's dive right in. So the beginning phase of the crisis safety plan is the triggers part. Let's identify what are your triggers. A lot of times a person may come to the hospital because they're depressed, they're anxious, but they're not in a place where they require inpatient criteria. And when I mean inpatient criteria, meaning like they're suicidal, homicidal, manic, or in a place where they are experiencing acute psychosis. With the crisis safety plan, it's just like we've already identified your presenting issue, your presenting problem, what brought you to this space or to this facility in the first place. But let's talk about your triggers. What brought you here? A lot of times it could be a family member, incident that happened at school or at work or within the space that you just currently left. If your issue is substance abuse, what caused you to drink or use whatever substance of choice? Is it conflict between you and the individual? Is it negative thinking? Are you hearing voices? Did you see a movie that kind of drove you over the edge? Did you have a flashback of any kind related to your traumatic experience? So let's just kind of create a list. Usually a lot of people aim for like 5, but you can also do a minimum of 3. If you have more, by all means identify each and every one of those things. And while we're discussing our triggers, let's also identify those symptoms that you're experiencing as well, because granted, yes, we are able to identify what caused us to be in that negative space, what caused us to deal with some acute distress. We also need to kind of evaluate how that impacts our body, how that impacts our mood and our behaviors as well. So do you feel any tension in the body? Did you have any increased heart rate? Do you find yourself having shortness of breath? Do you feel like you're about to pass out? Are you fiending for whatever substance that you're dealing with? Is your mind wandering, racing thoughts? What are some things that you're feeling internally and throughout your body? That way you can kind of be a lot more mindful of what's happening. Now that we've identified our triggers and warning signs, it's time to switch gears and focus on our coping skills and our coping mechanisms. These are things that we can do in the moment to help us manage stress on an internal basis. And a lot of times I always ask clients or patients, what are some things that you enjoy? What are some activities or some hobbies that help you relieve stress, that help you switch gears and keep you from focusing on that thing that's causing that negative feeling? So some people tend to say they like to go fishing, or they like to read the Bible, or they like to go talk to a friend. Or most times it's like, I like to count to 10 or deep breathing. One thing that I enjoy sharing with other people are doing the 5 for 5. So identifying 5 things for each 5 cents. What are 5 things that you can see, 5 things you can feel, 5 things that you can taste, 5 things that you can touch, and 5 things that you can hear. And with that being said, that kind of, like I said, distracts you in the moment and kind of helps lower your heart rate, lowers your breathing. If you have like these physical manifestations, try opening your palm and closing them, or flexing your feet, or taking your finger and rubbing it on the back of your arm, or whatever the case may be, whatever works for you. What are some things that are going to help you just kind of calm down in that moment until you're able to have a moment of clarity and move on to the next phase of your life, or the next phase of stabilization? So we talked about triggers and warning signs, and then we also talked about coping skills. Now let's identify our support system, and that's very, very crucial. You guys know I'm a huge proponent of support systems, or identifying those people that can really help you, not necessarily in the moment, but somebody that you can kind of talk your feelings out with. That could be anybody, whether it's a friend, a co-worker, your AA sponsor, your NA sponsor. When I say AA, Alcoholic Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous sponsor, peer support system. That's super crucial. Anybody you feel like you can talk to, a neighbor even, or I mean, you can sit down and talk to the Lord if you want to, your pastor, your reverend, whoever brings you peace. I highly suggest not talking to the person who triggered you in the first place, because obviously all that's going to do is just escalate the matters exponentially. But in this moment, identify somebody who is non-biased and non-judgmental, somebody who's a good listening ear. One thing I always like to say in advance though, make sure that they have the time to listen to you, because oftentimes we're so in a rush to kind of express our emotions that all we do is just pick up the phone, not thinking that the other person on the other line may not be in the best space as well. So one thing that we should get in the practice of doing is, hey, let me text this individual, let me call them and say, I'm not in a good space right now. Do you have time to listen to me? Or are you okay? How was your day? Are you doing okay? I just wanted to check in because I have some things to get off my chest really quickly. And then they're able to let you know, hey, I can't do it. And that's fine. It's okay. Go to the next person on your list. That's the whole purpose of creating a list. You should never just have one person. I mean, some people do, they only have one person, but if they can't do it in that moment, ask them when's the best time to call them back or hit them back. And if they are able to do it, then great, but also be mindful of their time too. So you got your triggers and warning signs, you have your coping skills, and you have your support system at hand. Now it's last but certainly not least, when somebody said that they're not suicidal, they're not homicidal, they say that they're not a danger to themselves or other people, I'm like, all right, cool, great, that's amazing, good job. Even if you are suicidal, great, amazing, let's help you in this moment, you know. But for people who say that they just have no desire to end their life or harm other people, I'm like, cool, so what gives you meaning to live? What gives you motivation to live? The reason why I find this to be important is because it helps ground the individual. It helps me know, and also helps them know that, hey, I have something to live for. I have a purpose here on this earth. There's a reason why I should not be here. And when you identify and you vocalize it, you start living that thing out. You start saying, hey, you know what, life really isn't that bad. Or yeah, life kind of sucks right now, but I have to keep pushing. I still gotta be here. That way I can help take care of that thing, you know. And I've heard a wide range of meanings to lives. You know, some people say, oh, I don't want to end my life because if I die, who's gonna take care of my cat? Who's gonna take care of my dog? You know, they're the only person I have. They're gonna end up in the kennel, and I just don't want to put my pet in a situation. Or sometimes you have caregivers and they're just like, I don't want to do that because I have my mom or my father to take care of. Or, oh, I've worked super hard on this project and I just put my heart and soul into it. I want to make sure I see that thing out. I want to make sure that it's carried out into completion. You know, there's just so many reasons why we want to live, and there's so many things that we live for. Particularly, it could even be yourself. Like, hey, I love myself too much to die. Or, you know, I've heard that. And I'm like, yeah, I feel you. Love yourself, self-love. Whatever gives you meaning to live, whatever keeps you here, hold on to that thing, because that's super important. And I think it's just super beautiful when people have that revelation, like, dang, I almost killed myself. Or dang, I almost did something that could have potentially changed the trajectory of my life. And I love seeing that clarity. I love hearing that in their voice. They're like, wow, you know what, you're right. I do have something special going on in my life, and I'm gonna keep living to see it out. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the crisis safety plan. Like we stated, we identified triggers and warning signs, coping skills, your support system, and lastly, that thing that is super important to us, something that gives us meaning to live. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this super brief video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and stay connected via Legacy SBKS on everything. Until next time. Also, before you go, hit that comment section below and tell me, what is the most important thing in your life? What gives you meaning to live? Thanks, guys.